John Wick, Jack Reacher, Tyler Rake, James Bond. Four of the best fighters and most dangerous men on the planet are going at it. But who's ultimately coming out on top here? Well, today, we're going to take a look at their strength, speed, durability, their skills, and their weapons to find out who wins. So let's get to it. John Wick. He's the ultimate hitman. Just a legendary guy down in the underworld. And even though he managed to get out of the life once, did it for love, was eventually dragged back in when some little Russian prick stole his car and killed his dog. And from there, well, let's just say things kinda got out of hand. But still, John could handle it. And that speaks to really how good he is in a fight. John's strong enough to go up against almost anyone, and has legitimately sent people flying backwards with his punches and kicks. He's also definitely no stranger to fighting against bigger, stronger guys. He even fought against a world-class sumo wrestler, or a guy at the very least who was a promising up-and-comer. And then when he fought against 7'4" Boban Marjanovic, well, John just beat him to death with a book. Definitely one of the more humiliating ways John's killed someone. I don't know which one's worse, getting taken out with a pencil or a library book. I mean, both are bad, both are real bad. What's even worse though is that John just casually puts it back after he's done. Like, well, don't need this anymore, I guess I better check it back in. So bottom line, John's strong. He's also really tough. His suit is actually bulletproof, meaning he's able to take all sorts of shots and keep on going. He's taken some pretty big falls and tumbles before. Punches and kicks don't seem to have any effect on him. He's like the Terminator, just picks himself up and keeps on going and going and going. You can even create a whole category here just about all the car crashes that John has been in. Like, you shouldn't be able to get hit by a car and walk it off that easily. You really shouldn't. But that's just the world that we live in here. John Wick is immune to car crashes. Also, I guess immune to being thrown off buildings. But don't worry, the metal railings slowed him down. What? Are we sure that John is even human? To top it all off, John isn't just borderline superhuman. He's also gotta be one of the best fighters I've ever seen. He's more of a grappler than anything else, but works in stuff like judo, Krav Maga, and jiu-jitsu to take down pretty much everyone he's come across. Seriously, it feels like almost every single assassin out there has taken their shot at John over the course of these 4 movies. They've all failed. His go-to move is just to flip people around and get them on the ground and then proceed to shoot them in the head. Which, I mean, hey, simple enough. It works, why change it? Keep it simple. And if John doesn't have any guns handy, well, he can kill a guy with pretty much anything else, so not really that big of a deal. And plus, John always has guns handy, so what are we even talking about? He's insanely accurate, is just constantly hitting headshots like it's nothing. He can take out guys in an instant. If John is coming at you with a gun, you're basically already dead. Not even bulletproof armor can keep you safe. Seriously, these guys are trained fighters wearing the best armor that money can buy, top grade stuff, legitimately bulletproof stuff, and John still just plowed through them with guns. The man is the best there is. He's a living legend. Put it simply, he's the Baba Yaga. Major Jack Reacher is an Army veteran who commanded the 110th Special Investigations Unit of the Military Police. When he retired, he chose to travel the country as a drifter. But Reacher just can't seem to stop getting in trouble and helping out those who can't help themselves. Reacher is an absolute unit. The guy's extremely strong. He's said to be as strong as 3 grown men. He's able to easily overpower pretty much anyone he goes up against. I'm talking breaking bones or even snapping necks with ease. He's also essentially just as tough as he is strong. He can take most attacks and honestly act like he doesn't even feel them. While he is a bit faster, more agile than he might appear, Reacher definitely isn't the fast guy in the bunch just because of his size, power over speed. And Reacher isn't just a gigantic Hulk, he's also a highly skilled and incredibly dangerous fighter. While often use his massive size and strength to simply overpower anyone in his way, that doesn't negate his skill. He might not be a master in any one form of fighting, but thanks to his military training, he's able to incorporate a whole bunch of different fighting styles and kind of mold them into one. On top of that, Reacher is a ruthless fighter and will do anything it takes to win the fight, with his favorite moves being headbutts, elbow strikes, and kicks down there. He's got no problem fighting dirty, using anything around him as a weapon. His only real goal in a fight is to end the fight as quickly as possible. Like Reacher himself puts it, the other guy cares how he wins. I care about pissing on the other guy's grave. Tyler Rake was a former SASR soldier who became a black market mercenary following his son's death from leukemia. He's a bit of a legend in the Black Ops world, famous for his exploits in Dhaka as he fought his way out of the city and protected the son of an Indian crime boss from a rival Bangladeshi drug lord. Due to his training in the SASR and his follow-up work as a mercenary, Rake is in top physical condition. He's incredibly strong, able to ragdoll grown men around like it's nothing, able to easily and consistently one-shot people. He can even casually break bones, break necks, and easily kill people with his bare hands. Rake also possesses some extraordinarily fast reflexes. During his knife fight with Saju, he's able to block and dodge all of Saju's knife swings and counter them. But perhaps Tyler's greatest ability is just his durability and endurance. Rake is able to fight for long periods of time against waves of enemies and still come out on top, taking plenty of attacks, falling off balconies, even getting hit by cars. He's even continued fighting after being shot, and is able to take plenty of bullets throughout the years and not even flinch. As a former SASR soldier, Rake possesses extraordinary combat abilities, being able to easily outmatch most opponents he encounters, and defeat large groups of enemies through his hand-to-hand combat skills alone. Rake's fighting style appears to incorporate elements of boxing, Muay Thai, Krav Maga, and wrestling. He might even have a possible background in the Filipino martial arts arnis because of his knife fighting abilities. And on top of that, due to his years as a soldier and a mercenary, Tyler is highly proficient with pretty much all firearms. He's an extremely accurate shot and is able to efficiently switch between his rifle and his sidearm with ease. Finally, Rake is an incredibly skilled military tactician, being able to plan escape routes, exit strategies, extraction plans. He's able to make adjustments to his plans on the fly if a situation doesn't go as planned. Special Agent 007, with his license to kill, is the key spy for MI6, and he's the one who's always gonna get the job done, no matter how many people he's gotta kill, or how much pain and torture he's gotta endure, or how many women he's gotta sleep with, or alcohol he's gotta drink. He'll do it all in order to get the job done. The Daniel Craig James Bond is supposed to be the most realistic and grounded, which isn't hard when you're comparing it to this, but it's kind of funny because even though it is the most realistic, at the same time, he's like the closest to being a superhuman dude. He's strong enough to tackle guys through walls, punch through walls, or just barrel right through walls. He's also really strong enough to break off the little handle on a door, hold on to the bottom of this elevator and do like the world's most dangerous pull-up. Just pull off all sorts of crazy stuff. Now, while James is fast, while James is agile, He's been in enough rooftop chases to convince me that he can keep up with anyone. I think the best thing with it, when it comes to speed, is actually just how quickly he's able to react to problems and come up with solutions. I mean, Bond's seriously impressive at this. I mean, just look at this. He had a car coming right at him, had nowhere to go, and so had to dodge it super quick. That's crazy impressive. I mean, I couldn't do that. But I also couldn't do half the stuff that Bond does, so that's probably not a good comparison. But basically, Bond's always so quick to analyze and react to problems and figure out a way to not just survive, but actually grab the advantage from it. When you stop and think about it, it's really insanely impressive. But that's not all. James Bond is also crazy tough, super durable, to withstand a whole lot of torture and everything. Bond has no problem taking falls. He can just brush them off, keep on running, keep on fighting, keep on keeping on. He survived a pretty nasty car crash, like a really nasty car crash. He took a whole bunch of punches and kicks and attacks from Dave Bautista, who's crazy strong, who's crazy tough. I mean, in this scene, he was getting hit in the balls and actually ended up just laughing it off, which my fellas out there know that's a pretty insane thing to do. Now, when Blofeld literally drilled into Bond's skull and started messing around in his brain, well, Bond was back at it, just mowing down people left and right. But Bond isn't just this pinnacle of like a guy in shape. He's also an insane fighter, one of the most highly trained killers in all of MI6. He also kind of fights like a man possessed, like a pit bull who just bites down and doesn't let it go. More like a hammer than a scalpel. I could keep on throwing out metaphors, but I think you get the idea. He's plowed through a lot of guys over the years, fought against them in all sorts of situations, literally all sorts of situations, even took out guys while he was all handcuffed and tied up. And he's also really good at improvising throughout fights, looking around and making makeshift weapons, really just using whatever's on hand, whatever he can, in order to take people out. And that's not even mentioning just how good James Bond is with guns. Like seriously, he's so good. He's able to disarm and down other people in just seconds, take out multiple guys all at once. He's regularly taking out people before they can take him out. And then when he was escaping from Blofeld, this one's really crazy, he killed like a dozen guards without breaking a sweat, taking some of them down at some pretty extreme range. So, who's gonna come out on top here? Who's ultimately gonna win? Let's get into it. Well, when it comes to strength, it's between Reacher and maybe Tyler Rake, but definitely leaning more towards Reacher. John Wick is out, same with James Bond, but just pure brute strength has never really been their games, so it's not like they were ever really expected to take the edge there. But Rake, well, he's almost superhuman. I mean, he can throw people around like they're made out of paper. He can snap necks like it's nothing, or rip a man's hand in half. I've even seen him swing around a grown man and use that guy to break another guy's neck. However, Jack Reacher is able to basically do all the same things. Plus, he's just legitimately bigger, has a whole lot more muscle mass. Reacher has no problem throwing his size and strength around, and I think he takes that strength edge. But what about durability? Well, all these guys' durability is just simply off the charts. The amount of punishment that we've seen them all take and yet not die and still keep on going is absolutely insane. Heck, several of them have basically come back from death itself and come back even stronger than before. They can all survive pretty much any attack that you can send their way. And because of that, I don't think you can definitively say that one is tougher than the other. It's much more likely that they'll all be able to take any attack that the other can land. So it's kind of hard to compare style versus style when it comes to these four, but if you take a look at how they all fight, well, I think it's pretty clear that Reacher is the odd one out. Now, he's a great fighter, an incredibly purposeful fighter, trying to end the fight as quickly as possible and by any means as possible. But he also really tends to rely on his strength and durability. I mean, he clearly knows how to fight. He's a good fighter, but he's nothing compared to these other three. The problem also is pretty much everyone here is just as tough as Reacher, so Reacher can't just muscle his way through. They can hold their own in a fight, and they're all definitely more skilled. Like, Tyler is much more suave and smooth. He's purposely deflecting attacks, then going for the kill. Each movement is incredibly efficient and purposeful. Same with Bond. James Bond is an excellent fighter. He's regularly been able to clear out whole rooms with ease, beat a whole bunch of highly trained assassins and killers. There's really never been a hand-to-hand or one-on-one fight that the man has lost. And then, of course, with Wick, well, it's basically like John Wick made it his personal mission to go encounter all the best fighters across the planet and beat them all. I mean, just look at Kane and Zero. Both of those guys are incredibly skilled, even with Kane being blind, and John was able to beat them both in fights. Sure, he didn't technically beat Kane, but he also definitely wasn't trying to beat Kane because Kane was his buddy. However, I think all that being said, a hand-to-hand close quarters fight is still incredibly close between these four. Wick is the most skilled, Reacher has the most power and muscle, Rake's a good combination of both, and I think James Bond might just lose to all three of them. He doesn't have the pure skill feats to compete with someone like John Wick, and we've seen him struggle against pure muscle before. And I think Wick would take a hand-to-hand fight because, well, he's just been there, done that. Regularly fighting big brutes or lethal fighters and beating them all. But of course, problem is, this isn't how the fight will likely play out. No, it's gonna be a gunfight. And in a gunfight, well, I think Reacher is at a pretty clear disadvantage. Sure, he's an amazing shot, but he just doesn't have the feats to compare with the other three. And it's kinda the same way with Bond. Yeah, he's got better showings than Reacher. In fact, James Bond is actually a really good shot. It's absolutely lethal with a gun in his hand. But ultimately, well, I think this fight comes down to Wick and Rake. Because Tyler Rake and John Wick are legitimately taking on whole armies of people, wiping out whole death squads all by themselves. And plus, with Extraction 2, Rake now has experience taking down dudes in complete bulletproof armor and still killing them, the kind of experience that the other two don't have. Tyler killing people with bulletproof armor is like some John Wick level stuff, and I think it puts him in a slight class above the other two. But doesn't mean that he's better than John Wick. You just gotta watch one of those movies to see that this is what John does. This is what he's all about. He's just too good. And at the end of the day, I'm still gonna go with John's track record, just how many times he's done it. It'd be a great fight, but ultimately John Wick wins.